Warning: extreme spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. So there's this moment in The Last of Us Part 2, just about halfway through the campaign. When I first played through this bit, I could only describe it as cinematic. Let's watch.
Oh shit!
And before you ask, of course, I intentionally died for additional cinematic effect. Let's break down what just happened. We start crawling through this narrow crack in the wall. The camera pulls in closer to Abby, which makes this clicker scare feel more visceral. As Abby backs out of the crack, we hear several sounds. The wooden wall against her backpack, the sound of dust falling, the clicker, and Abby respectively. Then, a QuickTime event forces the player to actively engage with the scene before opening back up to normal gameplay with a unique modifier. You start sprawled out on your back. Pro tip on this one, watch your ammo levels. Let's look at another scene. This one is an optional event in downtown Seattle where Ellie discovers and plays a guitar. The player has used the guitar mechanic once by this point in the game. The recurring allegory of the song Future Days does a lot to characterize the relationship between Ellie and Joel, but what specifically makes this scene feel cinematic? The scene starts with the player manually playing guitar themselves, and only transitions to a cutscene after the player inputs the correct chord progression. Whereas film must pull the viewer in through emotional investment, video games have the advantage of physical investment. After all, you as the player were the one who started playing this song. The cutscene begins with a close-up on the neck of the guitar. Ellie's fingering hand is the one in focus, with her hands being a recurring symbol of her emotional journey throughout the game. This is a bit of a tangent, but Ellie's hands are also a focal point of the very first trailer for the game that dropped back in 2016. If you've played through the game, go rewatch that trailer now, it's a whole new perspective. We've broken down specific scenes, but what does cinematic actually mean? The filmmaking community loves to debate this one, and the official definition is having quality characteristics of motion pictures, so that's not helpful. This is my take. We use cinematic as a synonym for depth. In film, you have two ways to create depth: lighting and sound.
Shit!
Hey, eyes on me. Abby, stop looking down.
And while The Last of Us 2 does have great lighting, I think it's really the sound design that makes this game stand out. If something would make a sound in real life, it makes a sound in this game. But Naughty Dog took it a step further than that by using several dynamic music cues. Listen closely to this stalker encounter. A low drone fades in on approach, making the entire hotel level feel unstable and dangerous. But when the stalker emerges and the player fires, suddenly deep bass and drums have also joined the music.
Keep going down. We're almost at the street.
This comes across as seamless to the player, with any inconsistencies being covered up by the tactile sound of a shotgun blast. Gunfire is another key part of this cinematic feeling. More so than most games, each bullet matters in The Last of Us. Ammo's gameplay value is matched by its impact in sound design. Listen to the weight of this rifle. The immersion is kept by a weighty, tactile feel to almost every mechanic in the game. Listen to the sound of this cabinet being opened. Or the sounds of upgrading your weapon at a workbench. Video games have one distinct advantage over film when it comes to immersion: the physical element of the controller. I felt my heart race and my body tense up more while playing this game than while watching any horror movie I've ever seen. And I attribute that difference to the controller. Film allows you to consume passively. Video games demand engagement.
We're going through!
Now, what I'm describing is not a new thing to gaming. Sound design has been a part of the medium for decades. But with the release of The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog raised the bar on quality. These motion captured cutscenes, combined with some of the best voice acting in the industry, is putting Naughty Dog on the level of Oscar-winning storytelling. Smart sound design and several instances of environmental framing, as well as contrasty lighting, they all add this feeling of cinematic depth that is unrivaled in video games. Naughty Dog currently has a monopoly on the narrative-driven cinematic gaming experience. The Last of Us 2 was controversial because of its narrative, but its quality is undeniable. Video games as a medium is still very young, and the already diverse art form is only growing more diverse. I'm hoping to see more developers try their hand at narrative-focused linear games moving forward. If the 8th generation of gaming was all about open worlds, I hope that the 9th generation is all about narrative.